Brandon from Sparksmith, helping you see and be seen. Today we're installing some of our universal grill bars on this 2009 Honda Civic. I just wanted to go over this one to show you just kind of the general procedure. This applies to a great many different cars, but just kind of the basic procedure that you can go through to install these on your ride. So once you pick out a place, on this one we're going to put them right down here under this chrome lip, and we're going to hook up the running light and the turn signal function. So what you need to do is you need to find a switched power source, you need to find your turn signal power, and you need to find a ground. Ground's going to be easy, you just run it to the battery. For instance, if you bought our install kit, it'll come with a length of black wire and you can run it to the ground. On this Honda, what I found was, I don't know if the camera can see this, but down here in the underhood fuse box, there's this 7.5 amp fuse for the oil level sensor. And when the key's off, you can see this little test light doesn't light up. So one quick thing on these fuses, any of these fuses that push in, you can see two little silver tabs. Can you zoom in just a little bit? These two little silver spots, that's bare metal, and you can touch it. So like I could touch it with my test light. You can see the test light comes on when you touch that little spot of metal. So that's how you test a fuse without pulling it out. So all of them light up except for this 7.5, and when I turn the key on, that one will light up. So that's what we're going to use for our switched power. Same kind of concept applies to your turn signals. So on this one, it's got 3 wires. There's going to be, I'm assuming, I haven't tested any of these yet, but I'm assuming black is ground. The bigger one's probably turn signal, and the smaller one's probably the parking light. So I can pop this guy out. I'm going to turn the hazard switch on, and we'll put the test light on it and see which one lights up. I've got the hazards on. I like to turn the hazards on because they'll power all 4 corners, even if there's a bulb out or unplugged or something like that. So you can see my assumption was right. The bigger blue wire is your turn signal. The middle one's going to be ground, and the outside one's most likely the park. The only one we're concerned about is this turn signal. So on each side, we'll tap into this for the turn signal. And we'll splice those in just a second. I'll show you how that's done. On this car, I'm going to take the aluminum that comes with the install kit, and I'm going to create a small piece that'll just kind of go right here in this corner and give this bar one end to screw to, and then the other end will just screw straight into the plastic over here. So to do that, you can use just a pair of tin snips or whatever. It does not take much. Cut 2 little chunks of aluminum. Then I'm going to trim it so that it fits in that corner. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to get it kind of right up in there. And then I'm going to drill a hole through both of these so that I can take a screw and kind of clamp them together onto this grill, and that will give us a smooth surface for the small mounting screw that will go onto this. Okay, I'm going to drill an 1/8 inch hole through both of them, and then through the angled one that goes on the outside, a slightly bigger hole, so the screw that I use can go through, spin freely through the outside one and thread itself into the one that's going to be on the backside. I'm going to use a stainless screw. This doesn't come with the kit, but you can find these literally in any hardware store for like $1 maybe, and you'll buy some that fit for your application if this is how you need to mount it. Run the screw through while this thing is still in your bench vise or pliers or whatever, so that you go ahead and cut the threads. It makes it easier to install on the car. Once you get your 2 pieces of metal ready, kind of sandwich it in there, and I'll snug it up. On the back side, I have it wedged up against the back side of the grill so that back piece can't rotate. And I'll just hold this front one with my thumb. It doesn't have to be super tight, just enough to kind of hold it in place. Then you want to take a 1/16 drill bit and pre-drill a hole where you're going to need it. So you can kind of hold the strip up there and see where you're going to need it, and you can mark it. Once you find your hole, pre-drill that, then the screws that come with it can mount right there, and you mount another one up here. So before you remove this red backing and stick it on there, you want to grab some rubbing alcohol and clean the surface. Not a whole lot of surface for the adhesive to grip to, but what surface is there, you want it to be clean and dry. What I like to do is take the screw and go ahead and insert it into the bar, making sure that you don't make contact with the wires. These wires are a really small gauge and they're very easy to break, so just be careful that the screw stays away from the wires. And then you can kind of peel back some of that and get this guy into his new home. Okay, so I've got all the wires crimped up. If you want to know more about wire splicing and all that, we have a video on that, but everything's crimped together. We've got wires run to where they're supposed to go. So you always want to give it a quick test run before you button everything up, just to make sure it's all working correctly. So it starts up with the key on, left turn, right turn. Now we just got to button it back up. One thing real quick, if you've got this ring terminal and you don't want to have to take wherever stud you're mounting it to all the way off, you can just take some wire cutters and cut a chunk out of it, and you can set it in there. Sometimes that can make installation a little bit easier. You know, if you don't want to have to take the bolt all the way out or whatever, you can do that, and we'll tighten that back down and it'll be perfectly fine. Also, I wanted to note that I used some cloth tape to kind of create a protective loom across the whole thing. I just took the tape and kind of spiraled it around the wire loom, so that'll carry the stress if this stuff gets pulled or anything. Instead of pulling on the actual wires and the butt connectors, it'll pull on the tape and gives it a little more strength and protection. We're now going to have a roll of this cloth tape as an optional add-on for the install kits, so you can get a little bit more professional looking installation. You've got it all buttoned up and everything's put back in order. This is what you get. One quick note on this, because we kept the factory turn signal bulbs, we did not have to add any resistors for the turn signals. That's only if you're going to replace those factory bulbs with an LED.